I'm your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business owners. Hello, humans. I am your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business. I talk with sales and HR experts, other small business owners, and anyone else that can provide you with information to clear your way to success. We've got another guest back on today. Pretty excited about that. Today's topic, bookkeeping. My guest is Shelley Teller, owner of S. Teller, or maybe Stellar. Is that how you
That's
say?
how I, yeah.
Okay. Business solutions. She has a ton of time in business and a ton of experience in business support roles. She spent several years as a graphic designer and creative director before transitioning to Xerox, where she began as a document advisor. She moved up to become an on-site document manager before leaving Michigan and heading to PA, where she began as an account manager at a business support services company. After a few years there, she moved on to become a print shop manager, business center manager. She's been operating a photography business for over 10 years, and in January of 2022, she opened Stellar Business Solutions, a virtual bookkeeping business. Shelley also finished second in the February of 22 I2E program at Ignite. Thanks for being a guest on Clearing the Way.
Thanks for having me.
So today, topic, bookkeeping. I thought it would be helpful for myself and for everybody else to start out with just what we're talking about.
Okay.
What do we mean when you're talking about bookkeeping? What are we talking about?
Okay. So a lot of people confuse bookkeeping and accounting, right? A lot of people think they're the same thing. And in essence, they kind of are. So easiest way to describe it, bookkeeping is the day-to-day of your business.
Okay.
Where's your money going? Where's it coming from?
Okay.
Accounting kind of looks at the overall picture so that you can make decisions on what to do with your money.
Okay.
Based on what the bookkeeper shows you, where it goes and where it comes from.
Okay.
So it helps you make sound. So they're very, very much intertwined.
Okay.
Very much intertwined.
Okay. So they both feel super important, obviously, but I feel like accountants get all the clout. They get all the hype. In that industry, is there a lot of carryover? Like, are there a lot of people that do both? Or is it kind of, I do this and I do this?
So easiest way to do that too is to break it down into like education-wise, right?
Okay.
So accountants or certified public accountants have a lot more experience. Generally, they have a bachelor's in finance and or business management or both.
Okay.
Bookkeepers tend to be there's certifications for bookkeepers that you can do. So, for instance, I belong to a Digital Bookkeepers Association, which kind of gives us like up-to-date things on how to do bookkeeping. But I don't have to have that. It's one of those, it's a nice to have, but not a necessary thing.
Okay. So accountants, let's say, like, I'm thinking about this in like frequency of communication almost. Like accountants feel like you're not communicating with them as often.
Correct.
Right? And you or somebody in a similar role, like that might be weekly or definitely monthly, I would assume.
Yes, definitely weekly. A lot of my clients I work with on a weekly basis.
Okay.
And sometimes they're even on a day-to-day if they need it. Sometimes I'm getting calls. They're going, hey, I need this. I'm like, okay, no problem.
Okay. So you're more of you're more ingrained in the everyday, like, here's where all of the money is coming from and going.
Correct.
They're kind of big picture. Yeah.
Accountants, tend to be more on a quarterly basis. If it's not that frequent, it's generally at a yearly basis because a lot of accountants will do, not all, will do tax prep.
Okay.
So they'll do your taxes. Well, I don't do taxes.
Yeah.
I will do your tax prep and help give you the information to your accountant.
Yeah.
But I will not do your taxes for you.
Okay. Okay. That's a good distinction there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. I think we're all at least on the same page of what we're talking about now. So when I'm starting, I feel like it's difficult to really keep track of everything. Sales, or at least, I don't know, for me it was. Figuring out where all of your money is going. Like, why do I need to be paying attention to these things? Like, what are the downsides of not paying attention to it? Can't I just look at my account and see there's money in here? I'm still good. You know, like
You can.
Yeah.
You can. Let's kind of look at it from a personal standpoint too. From, let's say, your house expenses, right? If you look at your account, I have money in there. I can pay this bill, and this bill, right? However, as a business owner, you also need to make those decisions on how much taxes do I owe for the year. So while I may have money in my account to pay the bills, do I have money in my account to cover sales tax?
Yeah, that's an important one.
Yeah.
That's an important one.
And depending on how often you pay sales tax, for instance, I work with clients that, I have money in my account. I have X amount of money in my account. We'll just use a number, $30,000 in my account. But $10,000 of that has to go towards sales tax. So if they did not have me providing them with information in the day-to-day, they wouldn't know that they only have $20,000.
So when people are looking for bookkeepers, is that it needs to be ongoing, right? Or can you set up a system where it's just like you go in, you set it up, and then the person's kind of good to go?
I like to do both.
Okay.
Because there are some business owners who like to be those go-getters who like to do it all. So you have to really be honest with yourself. Do you have the organization? Do you have the financial acumen, meaning do you understand finances, right? If you do and you can do it, then great, do it yourself. And I'll be happy to set you up and get you started. If you're somebody who's like, I don't want to touch it because I don't like math, then, I've helped those people too.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm choosing this route of doing it myself, let's start. I haven't hired you. Okay. So I just think I'm going to do this myself. What are some of the things that I need to be, how can I do this in a way that is kind of, manageable and doesn't set me up to be, I don't know, so that I'm not screwing myself over when it comes tax time or just in general. Like, how can I approach this in a way that is just manageable before I can afford to hire somebody to help me out? Because it might be a little while. It might be a year or two before I can figure out, but it's important to manage my finances beforehand. So is there some tricks or some tools or how do we do this?
Guess my question would be to that is, how organized are you? Because that's an honest question that every business owner should ask themselves. How organized are you?
Yeah.
To keep all of this together? Do you understand the difference between income and expenses? Most people, you can find a lot of that. Just a quick start on the internet, right?
Yeah.
What's this? What's the definition, so that you understand what it is. But the biggest thing is keeping your accounts separate. So if you have a business, keep your business expenses separate from your personal expenses. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
And most business owners put them together.
Okay.
So,
that was the one thing when I was getting my LLC set up. That was the only thing the attorney told me was that. It's like, there's no real help here, but do this and everything will at least be somewhat okay. If you do nothing else, keep everything separate and you will save yourself a lot of headaches.
The other thing is keep all of your receipts.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, in a lot of the receipts in today's world, they're on that thermal paper, so they don't stay very well. So find some sort of electronic receipt management, something that you can snap a picture, even if it's just on your phone and you back it up. Make sure you keep pictures of those receipts so that you have them, because they will fade over time.
Yeah.
But yes, keep business and personal separate. Keep copies of your receipts. Always set aside a part of your income that comes in. So money coming in, let's say you earn $1,000. Set a third of that aside for taxes.
Okay.
Don't spend it. Just know it's already spent.
Yeah.
And that will help you so that at the end of the year, you're not like, oh my God, I have to pay all these taxes. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
It's already there.
Do you have like a, obviously when you're setting your clients up, like you're going to have your own methods for that, but is there a simple version or a simple way to keep that organized? Like, I know QuickBooks has some of that stuff.
Right.
But are there any other tools that are recommended or anything like that? Like, I mean, shit, even as easy as like a Google Sheet or something. Like, what do you...
How good are you at spreadsheets?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like to touch Google Sheets or Excel.
Yeah.
But how good are you at spreadsheets? If you keep a spreadsheet, I mean, I do this in one of the other personal businesses I have. I have a homestead, so farming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't use QuickBooks for that. I have a quick Excel sheet. I keep expenses, everything that we spent.
Mm-hmm.
I keep income, everything that we have earned. And then I have kind of like a miscellaneous if there's anything else like taxes or anything that we have to do, then I keep kind of that.
Okay.
Like 3 tabs in an Excel sheet. It's not difficult.
Yeah. Well, and how frequently do you go through that? Is that like a weekly, a month, like, or what would I'm sure this will kind of be based on the amount of like transactions that you're doing, but like at least once a month, right? Probably
at least once a month. Like, it's better to keep up on it weekly just because then you can set aside time every week to know, put it in a pile so you know these I need to enter. Then enter them and then move them to the pile that are done. This is why I said it's really important in your organization and your time management. Do you know to set time aside for yourself to do this? And this is where a lot of business owners have that problem is because they have to manage everything in their business, right? And they just don't carve out the time to do the bookkeeping. So then at the end of the year, they're, oh my God, I need to get this done. What the heck?
Yeah.
Which I can do cleanups too and help you with that.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't want to have to pay somebody to do that because you tend up paying more than if you would just do it during the year. Yeah.
Are there... Okay, so we're doing this at least monthly. At least, but hopefully weekly. You mentioned the receipt saving. Again, I'm pretty sure on QuickBooks you can do that, but are there, like, do you have a way to do that without that? Like, I mean, I guess you could even just create an album on your phone.
You could.
Just take pictures and then at least you have them somewhere.
Right. Well, and that depends on how much you want to spend. How much do you want to invest in your business? Now, think about anything you invest in organization-wise, you can put against as an expense of your business, and it counts on your taxes, right? So you can reduce your income. I don't like QuickBooks receipts management because you can only put receipts in it, and sometimes it doesn't pull them properly.
Okay.
I like to use a program called HubDoc.
Okay.
And it's relatively inexpensive. It's less than $15 a month. And you can put pretty much anything in there. Now, the good thing is that it will connect to QuickBooks to put everything into QuickBooks for you.
Okay. When you say you can put everything in there, what else should I be tracking other than my receipts for that kind of stuff?
Let's see you get somebody writes you a check for income, and you need to be able to know that they paid with check number whatever. Okay. You could put that into HubDoc and just categorize it as income, which is nice too. You could also put, let's say you have a company that uses vehicles. Take a picture of the title. Take a picture of the registration. Okay. Then you have all of that at your disposal too. If you ever lose the title, you have the title number to be able to go back and get it.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So that's a good one to add. Probably not, I don't know, probably not the first purchase. Like, that is a good thing to add, another tool to add on, but it's probably a good idea to spend money on some type of tracking service first, like
accounting software.
Yeah, something like that. For, I would guess.
Right? You can, but it depends on.
I guess it depends on your like how much you're willing to do by yourself.
Correct. And
Yeah.
how detailed you want to get into it. Because QuickBooks isn't the only one on the market.
Yeah.
There's also FreshBooks, there's also Xero. And both of those offer options to QuickBooks that may be better for a startup company. I mean, FreshBooks, I believe, starts at like $5 a month.
Yeah.
But you don't have a lot of options with that $5 a month, which is not necessarily a bad thing because you may not need all that functionality in your business.
Yeah. Well, especially like you can change any of those things. Like it might be a little bit of a pain, but it kind of, we've talked about several versions of this throughout different shows, but it's like you don't have to have it perfect at the beginning. Like,
Correct.
What do you need right now? Is it 5 transactions a month? Like, okay, can you do this? Like, do you need to spend $10 a month?
Right.
Maybe not. Like it's not a lot, but you have $10 a month. You're like, it starts to add up. So,
well, some people can even start off, let's say, Square has a lot of options now that you can do.
You can do a lot with Square.
A lot, and you don't need QuickBooks or Xero or FreshBooks if you're just starting off.
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I have QuickBooks. Most of my stuff is just straight through. Like Square does pretty solid. I mean, their fees are whatever. Like you're gonna have fees with any
their
credit
fees
card
are comparable
process.
to anybody.
But there's so many good. Like there's so many extra features that you get with it. I've had a lot. I like Square a lot. I'm sure there's some negatives, but
well, Stripe is another one too.
Yeah.
Stripe offers a lot of good things, and if you think about the top 2, those are usually top 3. Let's say that for credit card transactions are generally Stripe, Square, and QuickBooks.
Yeah. Okay, so if we're gonna do it ourselves, that's possible. Just keep track of it. Like, just keep track of as many things as possible, whether that's in a spreadsheet, if you're saving photos of things, like just organize it in some way that so when you need to call on it, you can call on it.
Correct.
And there are varying levels to that depending on a lot of this, like many things, is you got to look at yourself and figure out what am I actually willing to do here? Like I say I'm going to track these things, but if I'm not, I might want to make some other choices.
Right. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I can tell anybody is be honest with yourself. Because the other way to look at it is time is money. If you're paying somebody to do your bookkeeping, what else can you be doing to bring money into your business? Because you are the face of your business.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's going to take you several hours a week, like if you're doing enough things, if money is flowing enough that it's going to take you a couple hours a week, then that might be time better spent on other things if you can spend the money on somebody to do it for you.
Correct.
Maybe not. Maybe you just want to have your hand on everything, but that's, it takes time.
Right.
So you just have to, like you said, you got to be honest with yourself, see how much are you willing to do. Okay, so we went through a couple of those tools there. At what point do I need to bring somebody else on? Like, what are some indicators that this is probably more than I can handle myself or shouldn't be doing this anymore?
So you've been setting aside a time. We'll go with monthly, hopefully weekly, right? And you're constantly missing that time now because you have to do something else in your business, right? Something else in your business is taking over, whatever that may be. Generally, it tends to be networking and sales, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to get that business in.
Yeah.
If you're finding that you're constantly skipping that time set aside for yourself, maybe time to start looking for somebody to come help you.
Okay.
That can be, just realize, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a full-time person. It could be somebody that comes in once a month and does it.
Yeah.
Right? You pay them for a couple hours and they do it. It could be somebody that comes in weekly. It could be somebody that comes in every quarter, every 3 months and does it. So you have flexibility and options. You just have to be comfortable with it.
This video is brought to you by the City of Washington Citywide Development Corporation, the Washington CDC. If you're a business located in Washington, the City of Washington, and you're looking to expand, you've got some problems you need to work through, you need someone to just lend you an ear to see if you're kind of on the right direction, or Maybe you're dealing with some point of sale problems or some hiring issues or something like that. Reach out. That's what I'm here for. If you're a business that is located outside of Washington, or you're looking to get started and you need a space, Washington's a great spot for your first location. It's a good spot for your second location. It's a good spot for your third location. But you might need some help working through that. Reach out. If I can't help you, one of the other resources in this video will absolutely be able to. And like we've said, services are free. Doesn't cost you anything. Washington CDC is that's what it's here for. That's what my job is. My job is to help businesses and to bring in new businesses. So there is no cost to you. Feel free to reach out. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that gets to when I'm looking for somebody to help me with these things, how can I sort through all of the people that are out there? Like, what are some things that I should be asking people? How do I know if it's a good fit or if they are, because you mentioned you don't really have to have any certifications. Obviously, there are things for that. But how do I know if somebody is actually, like, you know, they know what they're talking about?
That's always difficult with anybody, right? You could ask a question and they can have a canned response.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is to meet with the person, talk to them. Because the biggest thing is if you're not a fit personally for each other, you're going to butt heads professionally as well. So make sure you're comfortable with that person. And you have to understand this bookkeeper is going to have their hands all over your finances, all over your business numbers. You have to be comfortable with them doing that, right?
Yeah.
Ask them, how often do they do these things? How many clients have they had? You know, give me a couple examples of people you've worked with. Like, they can give you examples of clients they've worked with without giving away confidential details of that client.
Yeah.
Right?
Is there anything in particular that they should, or that are like red flags for when I'm talking to those people? Like, I mean, so it's kind of a weird question, but.
Not necessarily a weird question. It's not a weird question because there are red flags that you can look at somebody. How often will you communicate with me? If you're hiring somebody on a monthly basis. So for me personally, I generally try to communicate with my clients on a monthly basis to give them financial reports so that they understand how their business is doing that month.
Okay.
If you don't have somebody who's communicating with you at least on a monthly basis, that would be, to me, a red flag. They'll be like, oh, I'll call you whenever I have a question. You know, that's kind of like, no.
Yeah.
How available are they to you? What's their turnaround time to talk to you? I usually, when I talk to my clients, I tell them I'll get back to you within 2 days. And if I don't, then there's something seriously wrong with my personal life or something going on that it's an emergency that you don't know. But I always tell them 2 days. And that's even if they contact me on a weekend. I will send them an email and say, hey, I'm not working this weekend, but I'll talk to you on Monday.
Yeah.
And you have to have somebody that has that touch point with them. Especially, like I said, when you're dealing with finances, everybody gets touchy on things. Yeah. If you're hiring somebody and they're not telling you where your money's going, that's a problem. You know?
Yeah.
Like, where did this go and why? Then that's already after you've hired them, but just things to kind of keep in mind as you're talking with them. Okay.
So, and how can I, if I'm looking to hire somebody, how can I prepare for that? What do I need to do as the business owner to make that smooth, make that hiring process smooth? What things need to be prepared? What do I need to be comfortable with giving you access to? Like, let's kind of start through there, and I'm sure I've got some questions that
it'll come up. Yeah. So a lot of the things when I talk to my clients, I talk to them about, I always give a free consultation. If nothing else, that person will walk away with a little bit more knowledge, even if they decide not to go with me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to make you pay for that knowledge because I want you to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And that's something else you can look at people when you're talking to them. Do they give you a little bit of knowledge to help you? You know? as I'm going through, let's say I've already hired a client and they've gone, yeah, hey, we're going to hire you, or they've already hired me. So first thing I always start off is with bank accounts. Do you do online banking? What are your bank account numbers? What are your login information for those accounts? And the reason that I ask that is usually I will connect that to their accounting software so that everything comes in automatically, and they do not have to give me a financial statement a bank statement every month.
With that, are there I guess maybe another good question to add in then when you're looking is like, how do you store my information?
Yeah, that's a good question to have.
Because if I have to give you all of my, like, there's some things that can go wrong if the wrong people get a hold of that. So I guess that might be a good question to add into the
when you're talking to people.
Qualifiers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay. No, it's a good question to add. All of my items that I do are, if I talk with people, usually a lot of that stuff is in person. They provide it in person. And anything that I do is like high-level encryption if it goes anywhere online.
Yeah.
So QuickBooks has that level of encryption. Xero has that level of encryption. A lot of the accounting softwares have to have that level of encryption.
Yeah.
Another question would be, do you have any business loans? Because if you have business loans, then we have to make sure that those get paid, right?
Yeah.
Either by you or by me. It doesn't matter, but they have to get paid. Do you have, how often do you have invoices come in? Do you do the invoicing? Do you want me to do the invoices for customers?
Okay.
Because basic bookkeeping is kind of taking the transactions that come in from your bank and putting them into buckets or categories, categorizing them so that you know, hey, this was rent, this was my phone bill, this was my utilities.
Yeah.
I can do that all day long, and on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But if you want me to start paying your bills or invoicing your customers, that's something different and, a whole different ballgame because it involves different items that we need to talk about. Do you have any employees in your business? If you have employees, do you need payroll help? Because I can do payroll too.
Okay. So we need to, if I'm ready to hire somebody, I need to have a grasp on basically anywhere that money is moving within my business. I need to be prepared to give you that information.
Yes.
Whatever, whether that's loans, whether that's my bank accounts, credit cards probably.
Credit cards,
anything where money flows in any direction, I need to be willing and prepared to give you access to that.
Correct.
All the logins, all the account, all of the everything.
Yes. Now
that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot.
I will say that there are institutions where you can give people viewing rights only.
Okay.
So they can only see what it is. They can't move anything.
Okay.
Which depends on how you feel with the individual and what you're asking them to do as to the access level you need to give them.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And what, I'm sure it's different in each case, but what, if I'm looking for that, like if I'm looking to limit people's visibility, is there something, like some setting I should be looking for? Like,
you would have to talk to your financial institution or wherever your credit card, your bank, whatever it is. You'd have to talk to the financial institution to find out what that level of access is that you can give.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because that's a lot, and that's a lot of information. Do you ever run into, I'm sure you do, like hesitancy, like people that are hiring their first this?
Yes.
How can you set people's mind at ease with that?
So I will tell everybody, I am transparent. You need to know just as much as I do where things are going. If you don't feel comfortable in any step of the process, why would you continue with me? And so a lot of times if there's somebody that's hesitant, I'll say, provide me with viewing access only. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's start there. As you work with me and you get comfortable with me and you go, oh, yeah, she's telling me everything. I know what this is. I know where that is. Then we can look at what else do you want to open up. Because there may be a time when I have to have access to move something.
Yeah.
Maybe you want me to pay a bill, but there's not enough money in your checking account, so I have to move from your savings to your checking account.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to be on top of it and do it right when you need it, when I need it, then great. If you're like, I don't want to be bothered by that, then you can, provide a deeper access for that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's good with anything. Just like, if there are ways to ease into it, if you're uncomfortable, just, here, you can view. You can view. Like,
Right.
that's it. But it's also probably a good idea, even if you have hired, like, you still got to kind of pay attention.
Yes.
Like, especially, well, I guess at any point in the relationship. But even if you're hiring somebody to do everything for you, probably take a look every once in a while. Like, make sure things are as I'm being told.
I will say, don't fix it and forget it. Fix it and pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Because there are unscrupulous people out there, unfortunately, in this world. And you have to have that personal feel for them. You have to have, they have to be transparent with you on what they're doing, too. I can give you an example. I dealt with a vendor from me that I paid them to do a certain thing, and they changed the cost on me without informing me or telling me anything about it. And I was like, no, that's not how we do business.
Mm-hmm.
And you either have this amount of time to ship up or shape out, shape up or ship out, excuse me, because I'm not going to do business like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it just wasn't working at that one. And they came back with a whole bunch of excuses. And I said, well, you should have told me that first before you changed this.
Yeah. Was that with some type of an agreement in place too?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's so
tough.
you have people like, that's why you still have to pay attention to it. And that person had access to my credit card. So
that's tough.
Yeah. That's why I said there are people out there who will not be transparent.
Yeah.
And if they're not transparent, you don't need to be with them, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one.
Exactly.
That's difficult. Okay. So we've gone through a lot of the prep, what I need to have ready for you. Is there anything, other than like all of the logins, like, should I prepare things from the past, or like, do you need anything else, or I guess it depends on the situation.
Depends on whether the business is just starting up or they have some history. Maybe they need some cleanup. Maybe they have everything already done and we'll say it's in perfect order.
Yeah.
I don't need anything from the past. It's just more historical data for your understanding for things. It kind of gets a little tricky when you have payroll, because then you have to work with the bookkeeper on payroll to figure out how that's set up. What program are you using? How are you paying your employees? Are you just writing a check every week to them? Are you giving them cash? That gets into a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So if you have employees, be prepared to kind of talk in depth about what you need for that.
Okay. Okay. So we know some of the questions to ask these, some of the people. You're helping me through this discomfort of sharing everything. Is there anything else that I need to be thinking about? Like, I guess one question I still have is, what all I know you're helping me through everything day to day or weekly or whatever our relationship is, but what are some of the specifics that you're looking through and managing for me? And are you just examining things and telling me what's going on, or what else? What all is included in general in bookkeeping? Like, we know high level kind of what it is,
right.
But yeah.
Okay, so general. I have money that comes in because I sold something, whatever widget, whatever that may be, right? maybe I have different departments. Maybe it goes to one department versus another department. So that's kind of like the really nitty-gritty of putting it in the right bucket
Okay.
for income. All right. Now I've spent money from 5 different places.
Mm-hmm.
Where do each of those things go? What bucket do those go into? And so then that is one thing that I'm looking on a weekly basis to put those into the right bucket so that when I run your financial reports at the end of the month, I can tell you on your income statement, I brought in this amount of money. I spent this amount of money.
Yeah.
Do I have a positive left over or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I'm sure that helps you with like longer term trends, and I mean you're going to be able to prepare for things way better if you know in general these are my expenses on these things, on these types of things every
Correct.
month. And then when I'm looking into the future and doing some of my planning, I can kind of assess how everything has shaped up.
Right.
So that I can plan better.
Well, for instance, you always need to pay your phone bill every month, right? If you have a business phone.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that's an expense that's going to be coming through every single month. You know that you have one customer that always pays you every month for something or another that you do for them. So you know those are kind of things that are coming in. But let's say in the month of May, you had an increase in sales and you're like, why, what happened? You know, we can look at that trend and say, oh, well, you had an increase in sales because you're a lawn care service, for instance, right? And I'm mowing more lawns,
Yeah.
you know, versus shoveling snow.
Yeah.
And there's no snow, so I have no income. So what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
How can I look at other ways to help my business survive during the lean times and, you know, thrive during those times when I'm really, really busy?
Okay. That's all. Yeah. That seems like a nice person to have. Okay. Is there anything bookkeeping wise that we haven't, I mean, obviously we haven't talked about a lot of the details, but is there anything that I need to know as somebody who may need that? Anything else that we haven't covered?
You know, another question you can ask when you're kind of talking to somebody about this is, do they have an accountant they work with on a regular basis? Because you need both a bookkeeper and an accountant in your business, okay? Bookkeepers will help you with the day-to-day. The accountants will help you that once a year, that, you know, does that accountant do taxes? You know, is that accountant certified? Because you can be an accountant without being a certified public accountant.
Okay.
So a lot of that is just how much education they have to do throughout the year. They have to take a test. They have to do continuing education if they're a certified public accountant. And really, you should ask the bookkeeper, what type of certifications do you have for this? Because if they say, well, I don't have any, I just decided to do this, might not necessarily be a person you want to work with you. But let's say they've been saying, well, I've been doing this with another company for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, they have the experience.
Yeah.
It's just they don't necessarily have a certification to go along with it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You've covered a lot of my a lot of my
your questions.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know if I feel like we've set people up to know when they need it, why it's important, obviously, how to prepare for it, what questions to ask. It's going to be uncomfortable probably, but it's necessary. At some point, you need somebody to help you out, unless you don't.
Unless you're lucky and you have a family member that does it for you.
But even at that, you still have to have somebody else looking through your stuff. Like, somebody else is looking through the junk drawer.
That's right.
So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you got to have, whether it's a bookkeeper or an account, like, people are going to have access to it, but that's your job.
Correct.
Like, your job is to help people. That's why these services exist, because it's something difficult, something important, something that needs to be kept track of. But, like, that's what these services are offered for, because it's not something that is easy for every business owner to do. And you deal with all kinds of people and kinds of businesses. So, like, your situation probably isn't as bad as it feels, or maybe it is, but that's why there are professionals. Like,
Right. Yeah. And you have to and like I said, you have to be honest with yourself. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do in your business? What is your time worth to you? What is, if you're spending 10 hours a month or 10 hours a week on bookkeeping and you could be out doing something else, maybe it's time to give that up.
Yeah.
And just realize that even if you have somebody else doing it, you're not giving up control.
Yeah.
You have the ability to hire and fire that person.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not working out, don't be afraid to make a change.
That's important.
Yeah.
That is important. Okay. Anything else I need to know?
Other than bookkeeping is vital. Bookkeeping is vital. If you don't have the day-to-day done, you can't make those sound business decisions because you don't have the data to do it. And that's one thing your accountant probably is going to tell you too. I can't really make this decision or help you make these decisions because I don't have the information to do so.
Yeah. Okay. Bookkeeping is important, everybody. Just know it is important. Whether you're doing it yourself or paying somebody, you need to pay attention to it. Okay. I don't think I have any other questions.
Well, I appreciate
for now.
I'm
sure we might have to do a second round that goes a little bit more in depth, but I feel like this is a pretty solid intro to why this is important, why we need to be paying attention, and how to actually pay attention to it.
Okay. And anybody, if you have any questions or anybody else has any questions, they can always reach out to me.
Where can we find you?
I am on the web at and I'm going to say it S Teller because Stellar is spelled different.
Yes.
But STELLER businesssolutions.com.
That will be linked down below.
And you can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram.
Okay. So. All of those links will be down below. Thank you for coming on. This is good. This is important. Anything else that we need to know? Any last?
Just remember that you as a business owner are vital to the community because you have a big grasp on it better than the big corporations. So just remember you are the backbone of the community.
Yes. That's a nice little encouragement to end this. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. All of the links will be down below. Till next time. Thanks. I'm your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business owners.